Chapter 44 just finished with Judah essentially saying to Joseph, a life for a life. Let me stay as your servant. Let Benjamin go back home to my father. All of this emotion, all of this tension, all of this is taking place before Joseph. Joseph's already left the room once to go cry. Really, we get to a point where Joseph can't hold it in any longer. It says in chapter 45 that he breaks down and he cries out, have everyone leave my presence. So there was no one with Joseph when he made himself known to his brothers. And he wept so loudly that the Egyptians heard him, and Pharaoh's household heard about it. Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Is my father still living? But his brothers would not answer him because they were terrified at his presence. Verse 4, then Joseph said to his brothers, come close to me. When they had done so, he said, I am your brother Joseph, the one you sold into Egypt. And now do not be distressed and do not be angry with yourselves for selling me here, because it was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you. I want to stop right there for a moment, and I want to show you something. The perspective and the maturity of Joseph in this is incredible. He says, guys, it's okay. I forgive you. What you did, he's not saying what you did was okay. What you did was wrong, but I forgive you. And I want you to know that we're okay and I'm okay. Joseph walks in the fullness of freedom as he goes about his life. Even though he'd been wrong throughout his life, he walks free. He says, God sent me ahead of you. See, some people, they look back at past pains in their life and they live looking in their rearview mirror. Joseph always lived looking forward. And he said, guys, God sent me ahead of you. See, what looked like a setback, I realized was a setup. I'm going to say that one more time. What might look like a setback in the natural, God was using as a setup. He says, God sent me ahead of you. For 2 years now, there's been famine in the land. And for the next 5 years, there will be no plowing and reaping. We learn now that they're 2 years into the 7 years of famine. But God sent me ahead of you to preserve for you a remnant on the earth and to save your lives by a great deliverance. God has sent me ahead to preserve our family. So then, it was not you who sent me here, but God. Yeah, guys, I understand you might have done something evil. I understand that you might have sold me into slavery. I might have understand how you guys did this evil action, but I need y'all to understand that this was the hand of God on my life. This was the sovereign will of God on my life. And Joseph has such incredible maturity because sometimes there's things that happen in our life that God could stop, but he chooses not to. And whenever I find myself in a situation like that, I have to begin to ask in my prayer life, God, you chose not to. It's not, oh, I'm mad at you for choosing not to. It's, oh God, why have you chosen not to? And how can I position myself to fulfill your will? And Joseph has such incredible maturity. He says, God sent me here. He made me father to Pharaoh, lord of his entire household and ruler of Egypt. Now hurry back to my father and say to him, this is what your son Joseph says. God has made me lord of all Egypt. Come down to me, don't delay. You shall live in the region of Goshen and be near me. Your children and your grandchildren, your flocks and your herds and all you have. I will provide for you there, because 5 years of famine are still to come. Otherwise, you and your household and all who belong to you will become destitute. You can see for yourselves, and so can my brother Benjamin, that it is really I who am speaking to you. Tell my father about all the honor accorded me in Egypt and about everything you have seen, and bring my father down here quickly. Then he threw his arms around his brother Benjamin and wept, and Benjamin embraced him weeping. And he kissed all his brothers and wept over them, and afterwards his brothers talked with him. Relationship had been restored. I love this about Joseph. It's a principle found in Galatians 6. You who are spiritual, restore such a one who has fallen, considering yourself, lest you also be tempted. Joseph was the more spiritual man, if you will, who was willing to restore the relationship. Even though he had been wronged, he restored the relationship. It's a principle and a picture for us to take and apply to our lives. Even if you're wronged, be the better Christian. Be like Christ. Restore such a one who has fallen. Verse 16. When the news reached Pharaoh's palace that Joseph's brothers had come, Pharaoh and all his officials were pleased. Pharaoh said to Joseph, tell your brothers, do this, load your animals and return to the land of Canaan and bring your father and your families back to me. I will give you the best of the land of Egypt and you can enjoy the fat of the land. You are also directed to tell them, do this. Take some carts from Egypt for your children and your wives and get your father and come. Never mind about your belongings, because the best of all Egypt will be yours. He basically says, leave your house and all your stuff there. Just come here. I'll give you more than what you got. So the sons, this shows you, just so you can understand, this shows you just how valued Joseph was by Pharaoh. Pharaoh so revered Joseph that he said to Joseph's whole family, come here so that I can bless you on the sake of Joseph, and leave everything you have at home. Just come, just leave it all. Just come to me. I'll give you more than what you have. Verse 21, so the sons of Israel, the sons of Jacob, did this. Joseph gave them carts as Pharaoh had commanded, and he also gave them provisions for their journey. To each of them he gave new clothing, but to Benjamin he gave 300 shekels of silver and 5 sets of clothes. And this is what he sent to his father, 10 donkeys loaded with the best things of Egypt, 10 female donkeys loaded with grain and bread and other provisions for his journey. Then he sent his brothers away, and as they were leaving, he said to them, do not quarrel along the way. Do not fight along the way. So they went up out of Egypt and came to their father Jacob in the land of Canaan. They told him, Joseph is still alive. In fact, he is ruler of all Egypt. Jacob was stunned, and he did not believe them. But when they told him everything Joseph had said to them, and when he saw the carts Joseph had sent to carry him back, the spirit of their father Jacob revived. And Israel said, I'm convinced. My son Joseph is still alive. I will go, and I will see him before I die. And so Jacob would begin to make the journey to go see his son Joseph. We'll continue chapter 46. It says that Israel set out with all that was his, and when he reached Beersheba, he offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Jacob offers a sacrifice to the Lord and thanks God for everything that's taking place in his life. And God spoke to Israel in a vision at night and said, Jacob, Jacob. Here I am, he replied. I am God, the God of your father. Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for I will make you in a great nation there. I will go down to Egypt with you, and I will surely bring you back again. And Joseph's own hand will close your eyes. Then Jacob left Beersheba, and Israel's son took their father Jacob and their children and their wives and the carts that Pharaoh had sent to transport him. So Jacob and all his offspring went to Egypt, taking with them their livestock, their possessions that they had acquired in Canaan. Jacob brought with him to Egypt his sons and grandsons, daughters and granddaughters, all his offspring. These are the names of the sons of Israel. Reuben, the firstborn of Jacob, the sons of Reuben, Hanak, Palu, Hezron, Carmi. The sons of Simeon, Jamul, Jamin, Ohad, Jakin, Zohar, Shaul, the son of a Canaanite woman. The sons of Levi, this would be the priestly tribe, Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. The sons of Judah, Onan, Shelah, Perez, and Zerah. But and Onan had died in the land of Canaan, as we learned earlier in chapter 38, I believe. The sons of Issachar, Tola, Puah, Jashub, and Shimron. The sons of Zebulun, Serid, Elan, and Jalil. These were the sons of Leah, born to Jacob in Padan Aram, besides his daughter Dinah. These sons and daughters of his were 33 in all. The sons of Gad, Zephon, Haggai, Shuni, Esbon, Eri, Arodi, Ereli. The sons of Asher, Imnah, Ishva, Ishvi, and Beriah. These sisters were Sereh. The sons of Beriah, Heber, and Malchil. These were the children born to Jacob by Zilpah, whom Laban had given to his daughter Leah, 16 in all. The sons of Jacob's wife Rachel, Joseph, and Benjamin. In Egypt, verse 20, this is significant, Manasseh and Ephraim were born to Joseph by Asenath, daughter of Potiphar, priest of On. They are listed, and I believe that it's significant because, as I alluded to in an earlier story, Jacob would claim these sons as his later on. We learned that in a real story of faith. It's an incredible story. There's so much that God reveals to us in that particular story. Verse 21, the sons of Benjamin, Bela, Becher, Ashbel, Garah, Naaman, Ehi, Rosh, Pupim, Mupim, I'm not sure how to say it. Mupim, Hupim, and Ard. Just so you know, as I've said this before, I make up the pronunciation as I go, and I put a little accent on it so that it sounds more Hebrew. I really don't know how many of these names are pronounced. These were the sons of Rachel, who were born to Jacob, 14 in all. The son of Dan, Husham. The son of Naphtali, Jazeel, Guni, Jezer, and Shalem. These were the sons born to Jacob by Bilhah, whom Laban had given to his daughter Rachel, 7 in all. All those who went to Egypt with Jacob, those who were his direct descendants, not counting his sons' wives, numbered 66 persons. With the 2 sons who had been born to Joseph in Egypt, the member of Jacob's family which went to Egypt were 70 in all. Now, verse 28, Jacob sent Judah ahead of him to Joseph to get directions to Goshen. When they arrived in the region of Goshen, Joseph had his chariot made ready and went to Goshen to meet his father Israel. As soon as Joseph appeared before him, he threw his arms around his father and he wept for a long time. They were finally reunited. Verse 30, Israel said to Joseph, I'm ready to die now, since I've seen for myself that my son is still alive. Then Joseph said to his brother and to his father's household, I will go up and speak to Pharaoh and will say to him, my brothers and my father's household who were living in the land of Canaan have come to me. These men are shepherds, they tend livestock, and they have brought along their flocks and herds and everything they own. When Pharaoh calls you in and asks, what is your occupation? You should answer, your servants have tended livestock from our boyhood on, just as our fathers did. Then you will be allowed to settle in the region of Goshen, for all shepherds are detestable to the Egyptians. Basically, he says Pharaoh's going to put you in a certain place because what you do is not seen as a high-level occupation in the land of Egypt. It's not valued like it is in our culture. And he says, just honor Pharaoh, be kind before Pharaoh, and Pharaoh will take care of you as Pharaoh's taken care of me. Their family is reunited. God has brought things together, and we're about to see some incredible things take place in the last few books of Genesis as God will begin to transition us, if you will, to the book of Exodus as we'll take a multiple century leap forward. But before we do, there's a few more stories God has for us. Be blessed today.